This episode has been brought to you by JustNForm.com. If you're tired of being censored, tired of having your data stolen and sold, go to JustNForm.com, a social media site where all voices are welcome.
So, for many people, Shaun King is a hero because of his social justice issue, the way he covers social justice and the way he covers black plight and the way he basically, he does shine a light, right, on a lot of the things that take place as far as the black community is concerned when it comes to police brutality and how black people are treated disproportionately overall, right? Especially in the justice system. Especially there. I just want to be clear about that in the beginning of this. Two others. He is corrupt. He is an opportunist. He is self-serving. He loves to masturbate his own ego. And he's been under scrutiny for a lot of money raised for a lot of projects that no one ever sees the results of. And even most recently, he's come under attack because a black woman questioned him and he tried to send his entire Twitter following after her just for questioning him. Yeah. Some people consider him a mixed bag. My personal experience with Shaun, which is why I would rather he stay the hell out of politics, is that he is indeed an opportunist, right? He wanted to basically convince the world to vote for Hillary after he was such an avid Bernie Sanders supporter. But not only was he a Bernie Sanders supporter, but he was constantly discussing how Hillary Clinton had a key hand in disenfranchising the black community. Obviously, a lot of it was based off of the amount of money she took from the private prison industry that then, of course, translated into policies. Those policies translated into black bodies ending up in jail, black people being arrested or killed for drug charges, while, to be perfectly honest, their white, wealthy counterparts escaped. He hammered her relentlessly, and he should have hammered her for talking about for making the super predators comment. He should have. He hammered Clinton religiously, Bill Clinton, for the 3-strike rule. So personally, I could not see how he could ever push Clinton and say that objectively we should be voting for her instead of Trump. Right? Objectively. Because Trump is bad. But Clinton is bad on an entirely different level. Trump is like, okay, we're going to say some stupid stuff and people are going to be pissed off for the next 4 to 8 years, but it's reparable. What Clinton would have done to this country would have been irreparable. Okay? The country would have fell back asleep. And that's a fact. But the difference between Trump and Clinton is that Trump, he can, bankrupt the business illegally. And it's a big deal, right? But Hillary can literally bankrupt the country. And no one will blink an eye. And she'll look at you dead in your face and say it's charity work. That's where we're at with Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. So I reached out to him, and he and I were in a back and forth conversation via emails. And eventually, when I said, "Hey, man, we need to sit down and discuss this conversation about Hillary, because some of the facts that you're purporting are just objectively wrong. Like these are, and as like in she's going to lose on top of that, and I think that we should focus our efforts more on figuring out how this primary went so wrong, so south, with absolutely nothing being done about it, instead of trying to save an already doomed election because Hillary was going to lose." He ignored me, and then I asked him nicely again on Twitter, and then he was starting to purport some dangerous things on Twitter, and I was like, oh no, I had enough. So I nicely requested to debate him. It wasn't like Ben Shapiro. I didn't insult him and throw names out. Respectful debate amongst colleagues. So we can, if you actually want for the voters to be educated and make the best decision for themselves, I would never turn on a debate if you're really trying to educate voters. Any chance I have at educating voters, I would love to do. He, instead of actually acknowledging me and saying, okay, let's do it, he goes to my Facebook page and tries to whine and complain and play the victim and says that I'm not doing enough organizing, which if anybody knew me at the time, especially then, I was doing plenty of organizing. But that wasn't the point. He refused to actually acknowledge any of the things I said. And then he blocked me. Before that was how the whole conversation got started. When I made the video about him, he got tagged so often to debate me, he blocked me. So unfortunately for me, it doesn't come as much of a surprise that Shaun King caped for Kamala Harris. It doesn't. Some people may see it as a surprise, but let me tell you something. He wrote this article in Black America Web, and I haven't seen him tweet out this article. He doesn't seem to be as proud of this article. And to be 100% honest with you, I think we know why. Because, see, Shaun King is very much so on the side of what he believes to be the popular appearance of whatever the popular opinion appears to be. And I want to be very clear about something. Even on Twitter, even though the opinion about Kamala Harris is being attempted to be manufactured, it is failing miserably. And a blind man can see how wildly unpopular Harris is. But unfortunately for Shaun, he wrote this article, it was only a couple of days ago, but he wrote it before the people got to react because, once again, Shaun's a hypocrite and he's going to promote whatever interests he thinks will benefit him in his writing. So that's just how he is. He starts off talking about Kamala Harris in his article saying, speaking of attorneys, I want to talk to you for a few minutes this morning about a big announcement that the United States Senator Kamala Harris made yesterday. I said speaking of district attorneys because before she was ever a junior senator from California, Kamala Harris was a career prosecutor. Then served as district attorney in San Francisco, and then became the Attorney General of California. In case you missed it, Senator Harris announced that she is indeed going to run for president, and it's a huge, historic deal. Once again, what a surprise. Tulsi announces that she's going to run for president. Isn't historic. Even though she was more popular than Harris was. More people knew who Tulsi Gabbard was before Harris ever stepped on the scene. But now it's historic. Okay, whatever. Of course, Shirley Chisholm ran for president before, so Senator Harris is not the first black woman to ever run, but she's the first black woman from the Senate to run, and most people believe that she probably has more of a chance to actually win than any black woman that has ever run. Maybe because we are in such a difficult time in our country right now with Trump as president and the government being shut down for the longest time in the nation. Maybe it's because it's easy to gloss over how big of a deal it is that Kamala Harris is running for president, but it's a huge deal. So once again, you already see him setting up for, listen, I'm going to tell you some stuff really quick, but just know it's still a huge deal, but don't panic. But I'm going to tell you some stuff. He does, right? He goes on to say that I think she's a serious candidate. Yes, I think she could defeat Trump. Wrong. He also thought Hillary could defeat Trump, quoting the same polls that I told people over and over again weren't going to fly because they were fake polls. He goes on to say, she's actually a great campaigner. No, and he cites the fact that she never lost an election. Yeah, she's had the entire Clinton establishment behind her forever. And her Senate race, for the 550th time, if you did any research on it, was one of the most highly controversial races in California, was challenged. She found like 120,000 plus votes to beat her opponent over a course of 20 days. Found them. Yeah, okay. She's not a great campaigner. She raised a lot of money from the corporate establishment. She's been in some tough ones, and she's fought for every job she's ever had. Now look, y'all. Look, all right? I want to see a bunch of Willie Brown puns in the comment section when you hear that part. I ain't going to entertain y'all. Fought for every job. Okay, look. I ain't going to touch it. I'm going to let y'all touch it. I ain't going to touch it, though. I'm going to continue. Oh, okay. And in every election before now, I would say that being from California wasn't really an advantage in the Democratic primary, but this year I'd say it is actually a huge advantage because California has smartly moved its primary up from June, where it almost doesn't matter because the primaries are normally decided before they even get there. California moved their primaries up from June to March, right in the thick of things, so whoever wins California will be competitive no matter what. And she'd be hard to beat there. That's a lie. He's saying that she'd be hard to beat in California. That's not true. It is legitimately not true. She barely won her Senate race and she cheated. California, and this is a Senate race. The whole state basically votes. And she cheated. They found 100,000+ votes for her. Now, I will say this, if he is purporting that there's a good chance that the establishment of California and San Francisco and LA would try to cheat for her, well, absolutely, I 100% agree with you, Shaun, if that's what you're trying to say. But to win, I mean, like, if she could, I don't, she's not even more popular than Bernie in California. Like, the Walt Disney Union, like, the unions of California will back Bernie, undoubtedly. Remember, he got them raises. If people forget, I did not, and I'm sure they have not either. Like, Fight for 15's backing Bernie. Like, all the major grassroots groups are backing Bernie. And we already found out that Hillary pretty much lost California, but they haven't, I mean, they're still being argued in court, but court cases show that there were ballots destroyed, registration switched, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if the entire California establishment is willing to only back Kamala Harris, then maybe she can win. Outside of that, there's a chance she could lose this election. That's a real possibility. And then what? Then she'd actually be out earlier than you'd anticipate. So that's just a little electoral tidbit there. But he says, I do want to keep it all the way real, which I'm not actually sure Shaun King has the ability to do, but let's hear what he has to say. Because I think you're going to hear some of this. You think? In these days, and I want to prepare you for it. Not tell you the truth about it, but prepare you for it. In criminal justice reform circles, including many of the teams that I am a part of, we have always had a deep skepticism of Senator Harris when it comes to criminal justice. Some of my friends in the space would probably give her an F for much of her time as a district attorney and attorney general in California. And she did make some truly awful decisions that I think she will have to address over the course of her campaign. But I think she was more like a C- than an F during those years. She kept a black man in jail for murdering four white people on death row. She put him on death row. She kept him in jail despite the fact that the evidence proved. After he begged for a DNA test, they didn't even run a DNA test. He begged for one. They refused to give him one. She kept another man in jail after they found out that multiple cops lied about testimony that they saw him throw a gun away, and that he was trying to assault them, and they got him on the 3-strike rule on the felony. Turned out that those cops were incredulous, but she kept him in jail over paperwork that wasn't filed, and it turned out his name is Daniel Larson, and it turned out that the paperwork had been filed dozens of times since the 90s. And after this was found out, she kept him in jail for 3 more years to argue paperwork. Eventually, California federal court stepped in and said, "What the hell are you doing, woman? Let this man go." She tried to put parents, actually successfully in some cases, parents and kids in jail for truancy, knowing that truancy or skipping school or missing school primarily affects impoverished black communities in the area. She laughed about that, by the way. She laughed about that. It was funny for her, putting kids in jail, putting parents in jail. Those are just, she took money from law enforcement groups. Shaun, this is supposed to be your thing. This is supposed to be your thing. If you don't know about anything else, you don't know much about politics, but this is supposed to be your thing. Your shtick. But a C minus? She said it was not all bad, and anybody saying so is lying, but it wasn't great. Not all bad. Bro, she literally said she's going to keep people in jail because she didn't want to hurt the labor industry in prison. She wanted to keep slaves, Shaun. Shaun, bruh, what? Come on, man. So that's me keeping it real on her time as before she was a senator. Keeping it real. No, you said C minus. The moment you said C minus, we all knew you weren't keeping it real. But let's continue. But I also have to keep it real on the fact that since she's been a senator on the issues of criminal justice reform, she's really changed and evolved into one of the two to three most progressive people in all the Senate. She hasn't done anything. And she was running for president, and she knew she was running for president. Shaun, you know she went to the Hamptons. They told her, say what, don't do it, pull a Cory Booker. Say whatever the hell you got to make progressives believe that you are the black female equivalent of Bernie Sanders, but don't actually do anything and keep taking our money. And you leave that part out. Really co-sponsor many of the best bills on justice reform, and I do think it's authentic. What evidence do you have that it's authentic? What evidence? Again, we're going to have 18 months to evaluate her and every other candidate, and we should give them all a chance. I'll close with this thought. She did pass my first personal test. I've said this on the show several times. I'm looking at senior campaign staff hires for all the presidential candidates, and she hired brilliant, diverse staff from day one. And that really hasn't been the case for Democrats. I just want you to, literally, if you Google campaign staff for Kamala Harris, it's all Hillary Clinton's staff. That law, this should go to show anybody and everybody, first of all, he's disingenuous when it comes to criminal justice reform. He's disingenuous. He likes profiting from our pain for clicks. And then you push somebody who literally wanted to keep black bodies in jail, Shaun. And you wonder why people don't like you, nor trust you, nor believe any of the things you say. In fact, there's a good amount of people who probably decided not to back Hillary Clinton because they realized that you were backing her. Stay away from politics. You just said she passed your first test because of the diversity of the Democrats, no matter how corrupt. Probably the first test should be, well, what money did she take? But you want to be able to write articles telling the world about how racist they are if they don't vote for Kamala Harris, about how black women are black women are disenfranchised. Kamala Harris is not one of them. Raised in one of the richest communities in Montreal, went to Howard University and got carried to the top. And some would even say on the bottom. I'm not going to even go there. I said I'll leave it for the comment sections. Look, y'all got it. But all I'm saying, you can't pretend to be a warrior for criminal justice reform and continue to propagate enemies of the black community and enemies of criminal justice reform, especially ones who took money from the very people that you claim to fight against. And this shows in every single record she's ever had before she became a senator. So you are going to believe her now just because she passed some nominal, by the way, legislation, which is why he doesn't actually list any of the pieces of legislation in the article. Conveniently enough, he does that from time to time. So because of some nominal legislation, non-substantive legislation, you believe that she's a changed person? Shaun, you not that stupid. And it's a little insulting that you think we are. Because we're not. Thanks for watching that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. You can donate to our Patreon and keep helping the network grow by clicking on the link in the description below. And also, make sure you join us at JustNForm.com. And finally, make sure you subscribe to us on Roku and be part of the very first independent news network on Roku TV. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace.